The final is the cautionary factor. The cautionary factor has to be part of the equation as well. The cautionary factor is the risk versus reward scenario. If you're a young man that throws 78 to 84 miles an hour, one thing you've got to understand, and I've got a little graph here, that if you're 95, pretty good. Not a lot of risk at 95. Not a lot of risk at 90 of being selected collegiately or professionally. If you're 88 now or 6'3" and above, or you have a if you're left-handed, keeps you in a very good area of being drafted, being a high considered collegiate player. But anything below that puts you kind of in the average area, and will get you a situation where you need to get better. Yeah, somebody has to justify why they're giving you a scholarship. Somebody has to justify why they're going to pay you some money to play professionally. So having arm speed plays a big part of the equation. So if you're 80 miles an hour, you've got a long way to go. And equally, you've got a great deal of risk. But guess what? You achieve this through hard work, through breaking through limitations, through doing things that others won't. You've got an opportunity here to have a great reward, to have a bigger reward. So the biggest thing here is this risk versus reward. And I bring this about because you have athletes that sign $20 million contracts. Now these athletes spend a lot of time working on their game, doing things that not many will do, spending hours upon hours, and in the end up throwing hard, end up throwing accurate pitches, end up winning a lot. Some scout comes along, offers them money, and now when that young man goes into training with the major league team or collegiate team, it's okay, now we got to, instead of the routine that elevated you, we start to alter them. And that's one of the statements, that routines that elevate should not be altered. If a young man does swimming and does some unorthodox things, a long toss program that goes over 300 feet, for us to say, well, now that you're here and I've given you a high scholarship, or I've paid you a large sum of money, the only way you're going to get hurt is on the field. You're not going to do it lifting or swimming or doing all this other stuff. That is altering their routine. Whatever got them there, you're now changing it and taking it away. I understand the cautionary factor of protecting your investment by saying, hey, you're not going to ride motorcycles, you're not going to play basketball, you're not going to do all these things that can hurt you outside the game, but weight training is not going to hurt you. Throwing is not going to hurt you. Okay? So if these athletes do those things and they get there, we shouldn't alter their routine. I got an email that said that in the last 2 years, $1.2 billion was spent on professional pitching. And of that $1.2 billion, $400 million is on the disabled list. Now, if that is indeed true, okay, I've got to think that the cautionary factor plays a big part of that. How many routines are being altered as a result of the high pay? As a result of the high pay. If you have a high investment and you alter or restrict the routine, altered routines or change will equal injury. You can't do this. And you know, I got a no fear emblem here, fear crossed out, meaning no fear, and Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson, I was very fortunate to have him be a running back, not me have him, but to be going and coaching at the University of Oklahoma when Adrian Peterson was the running back there. And for the 3 years that he ran at Oklahoma, you couldn't imagine what it was like to see such a stud like him close up. And I'll tell you, after his first year, finishing with over 2,000 yards and finishing second in the Heisman Trophy, that summer they started talking about how the shelf life for NFL running backs was 3 years, and that Adrian Peterson's punishing running style would have to change. And the Oklahoma Sooner staff said indeed that they were working on that with Adrian. They were going to teach him how to avoid contact and maybe get out of it. This, you know, didn't lead up to his getting hurt, or maybe it did. But when you take a Cautionary factor, when you're not going at 100%, the likelihood is that you're going to get hurt. Adrian Peterson went from the Punisher to the Punishee, okay? And his running style, though, was critiqued 5 years ago, 6 years ago, as, boy, that's going to take a lot of wear and tear, and can he handle it? Well, he is. He is, and he's great as a result of it. Heaven forbid he slowed that thing down and just became an average running back. So the cautionary factor, because you're good and you've got less to risk, staying content will not keep you there. Staying content will get you hurt. You got to stick with your routines. You got to stick with what makes you great. And who's to say the guy that's throwing 90 doesn't continue throwing harder and harder and harder and make a better life for himself and his family? Superhumans. I got that up there because it's a great thing to watch. It's about people with special skills. A blind man that can ride a bike through a maze using an echo response system of bats. A 5'6" guy that can roll a not a newspaper, but roll a frying pan up like a newspaper. You can hand him a crescent wrench and he'll bend it. Why? Because he can't. And he'll tell you, I don't see myself as being special. You tell me to bend it, I will bend it. There's not a part of me that says I can't. You've got to be able to move forward without limitations. They have an escape artist who does Houdini-like escape routines. And he says, when fear enters the equation, I've got no chance. I can't allow fear to be part of the equation. And like so, fear can never produce the desired result. Okay? And when fear is part of the equation, all learning ceases. So why do we pamper our pitchers? Why do we pamper them? It's part of the equation. The great ones that get there with a work ethic that's second to none, it gets altered because of the investment. We've got to watch that. And also, coaches. Because you've got someone that throws 90, and he's going to probably have a good chance professionally. If you slow him down, that could keep him from going to 95. That could keep him from doing it. And you know what, quite frankly? If he doesn't make it, it's a sad story. It's a sad story. But what if he doesn't stick with the routine and thus doesn't make it because he gets hurt? It's still an equal part of that equation. Going with your heart and going with no limits produces the greatest result. David Price, second place finisher in the Cy Young this past year, former Vanderbilt pitcher under Tim Corbin and Derek Johnson, said this statement at the ABCA. I throw hard because I throw hard. Heaven forbid David Price took it easy and didn't throw hard. He throws hard because he throws hard. He does everything hard. He says that he throws every day. And guess what? He says his arm doesn't hurt. He's a freak. Or is he somebody that we got to try to understand? And that's the beauty of the great ones. Why are they great? They've got a no-limits approach. And the great ones truly probably get by because no one's got the nads to help coach them up. Heaven forbid anybody would keep you from reaching your limits. Making it to the bigs. I have to say that in the first video of this series, I talked about the pyramid, and I made a mistake by saying it was 7.5 million that went to 750,000 to 75,000 to 7,500. Oh, I was wrong, and when I found it, I said, well, I better put this in there. Not only to correct myself, but for maybe a good visual aid. But there are 5 million Little Leaguers, 500,000 high schoolers, 50,000 college players, 5,000 minor leaguers, 750 major league players, and 4 of those that make it to the big leagues stay there for 6+ years or more. Okay, that's the image I want you to get. What if, with all why don't all these people make it? Well, because only a few can. But all these here don't love the game like these people up here. It can't be that way. Some are not going to love it as much. Why? Maybe they're playing the game for their parents. Maybe they're just doing it for fun. But if they get hurt, if any of these get hurt with a cautious routine, with a half-fast routine, with a lack of preparation, why are they going to affect our teaching and our coaching for all those that are trying to make it up to that top? I hope that this series was informative. This was not to present you to Fred Corral. This, I hope, was to present you to some information that maybe might get you thinking, may bring about some interaction and debate. Common sense brings about simplicity. Simplicity brings about understanding. And when you have understanding, maybe we can take care of this. But to simply ignore, or to simply keep going in this cycle of information, I mean, truly, we could have figured out a lot of things maybe years back, and we've just kind of gone off to on a tangent here, and we just need to turn around and go back. That could possibly be the part of the equation as well. I think it's important to note, and maybe we will, maybe that's a topic for another day, but we can't also get into this flavor of the month. You know, I can remember when Mark Pryor was pitching. Oh, God's gift to pitching. Perfect delivery, everything. Linscomb. Oh, got to learn the freak. Got to learn this style. Okay? And I say the freak only because that was what was termed in Sports Illustrated. I mean, Tim Linscomb obviously is a real deal Holyfield. But Strasburg, oh, flavor of the month. You can't get locked into the flavor of the month, because if every pitcher, if there was one way to pitch, we'd see more than 2-3 guys have the same styles up here. The key to every one of those guys is balance. Balance is the key for every one of those. And balance through the movement. So hopefully this series helps. Hopefully this brings about interaction. And it may not be the end. Shoot, I may get an itch and make another one to hopefully stir some things out there. But we've got to figure this out. We got to figure this out, and maybe we don't have to figure it out. Maybe the 700% of injuries that are keeping the limitations of pitch counts and all that, maybe they're from the ones that weren't going to have it anyway. And we should stop letting them affect all the great ones. Take care, and thank you for your time.